is Christ Scott. I'm the founder and CEO of Fuuz, manufacturing platform. We're here today on the Manufacturing Matrix podcast, and I have a very exciting guest on the line with us today, Dave Levy, CIO of Hybar Steel. Dave, I'll pass it to you, and if you could give us a little introduction, a little bit about your background and something about Hybar.
Sure. It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me. It's nice to be here. As you said, my name is David Levy. I'm the CIO at Hybar Steel. I have been a IT consultant and involved in IT for 3 decades. Usually from the outside looking in. But this project, Hybar, is a very important project to me. It's actually a very momentous day in steel industry history in that the acquisition of U.S. Steel was completed today. I'm bringing that up because it's actually very closely related to my story and the story of Hybar. So we are here in Osceola, which is in Mississippi County, Arkansas. And Mississippi County, Arkansas is now the largest steel producing county in North America. And one of the reasons that is because of one of the U.S. Steel properties right down the street from us that the developer group that put Hybar together put together a company called Big River Steel. Big River Steel is part of the U.S. Steel family. It's a flat rolled mill, and it's right down the street from where we are in Osceola. As a consultant, that project started in 2013, and as a consultant, I spent a good part of the last 10 years consulting in IT. But when the developer group that put that together, so they were getting the band back together to put together to build a rebar mill, I said, you know what? I don't want to be the outside looking in anymore. I want to be a part of the team. And I raised my hand, and fortunately, they chose me to be the CIO. So it has been a very fun and challenging ride since August of 2023 when we put the shovel in the ground. And I'm really glad to be here. Really glad to be here.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I want to talk a lot more about Hybar. I want to learn
Sure.
and share with people a lot more about what you guys are doing that is different and unique, because there's a lot of things that you're doing that are different and unique, right? And in the steel industry, but just in the industrial space in general, right? So whatever you can share with us about the operations, how you guys have kind of structured the operations. I'm particularly interested in, just the sustainability aspect of Hybar Steel, because that's extremely interesting. Maybe some of the manufacturing processes, if you can share some of that information. I know that there's a lot of new technology, right? So that would be awesome to hear about. Can you walk us through a little bit of that, Dave, from your perspective, and how you guys decided to go down some of these paths?
Oh, for sure. It's my pleasure. So first and foremost, steelmaking is a technology business, right? And as time goes on and as the methods of making steel change and technology is more involved, although there's still plenty of room for virgin steel manufacturers where you take iron ore and you inject oxygen at a very high temperature and make virgin steel, Hybar, like a lot of other steel mills in America, are really recycling operations, right? There's nothing you can do with steel when it's past its useful life in whatever structure or thing it's in than make more steel. So by its very nature, we melt scrap steel and we create new steel products from it. Hybar is a rebar manufacturing facility. We're going to be making 700,000 tons of rebar per year, right? We're the first industrial manufacturer to be powered by solar power behind the meter. In other words, we have a 800-acre solar farm and battery operation that we can use to actually make green steel using our own solar power. We're not selling the solar credits. We're not buying solar credits and saying we're actually using our own solar power from the rays here in Osceola, Arkansas, to make our steel, right? To make our rebar. So it's a fascinating project. What else can I tell you about the operations? So one of the unique things, and again, making steel in America, or making steel is really a game of takeaway, right? So
Yeah.
as technology improves, as the technology for steel making gets more and more efficient, you're really taking capacity away from inefficient models, right? Inefficient steel manufacturing. Um, so, as an example, with the technology that we're employing, Hybar will be able to make 4,600 tons of steel per employee per year. Our closest competitor, also a very efficient steel manufacturer, is probably making around 1,400 to 1,500 tons per year per employee.
Ah,
So
that's
that gives you an
incredible.
idea about the efficiency gains that we're able to garner just through technology and efficiency, right? Just through more efficient practices, more efficient software, work, doing more with fewer people. It's really quite a thing. One of the things that makes Hybar unique is the continuous casting process, right? So continuous casting, the reason it is so important is for a number of reasons. Uh, Environmental reasons, if you can imagine the two-part process of creating billets or slabs and then letting them cool and
Mhm.
then heating them up again to roll them, you're losing all of that heat and all of that heat energy, as opposed to the continuous cast process, which is, and I don't know if you'd like me to explain the casting process in general, but if you can imagine, we basically inject lightning into scrap metal and melt it, and then we pour it into a giant caster. And I liken a caster to kind of like that extruder that you might see if you or that extruder you might have played with it when you had a Play-Doh set when you were a
Mhm.
kid, right? You've
Yeah.
got all the Play-Doh in there. You push the lever down, and all of a sudden, in this case, what comes out of the caster is a long 6x6 billet, we call it, of steel. And normally
Mhm.
those would be chopped every 10 or every 20 feet or so. You put them off to the side, and you would then come back later, heat them up, and put them through a rolling mill, depending on which product you were making that day. And in
Mhm.
our case, it would be just different sizes of rebar, right, with different grades, what have you. The continuous casting process means we go straight from casting this 6x6 molten steel into the into a long and continuous 6x6 shape, and at a certain point in time, it's called metallurgical length. It solidifies enough that you can then do something with it. You can then roll. So we go straight into the rolling mill at that point and
Mm.
can actually start rolling steel. So now, if you can imagine, you're taking this 6x6 giant giant bar of steel billet and rolling it. And so if it comes out and you're making 3/8, if you're making rebar that's 3/8 of an inch, it goes in at like 7 feet per second and comes out at like 85 miles an hour of the other
That's
end of the
insane.
steel mill.
Yeah.
So
You
you
don't
can
want to be
imagine,
standing anywhere near that thing.
no, you don't. You definitely don't. But we basically take these, we can, the whole process of continuous casting makes it so that you don't lose any of that heat energy,
Mhm.
and you're maximizing the mill for output, right? You're maximizing your efficiency, and you're setting up the mill for maximum output, and you're trying to do this 24 hours a day. So while you're continuous casting from the caster into the roll mill, and it's going through the various stands to make bar, at the same time you're getting the next charge ready to put into the furnace.
Yeah.
So it's like an
Just
ongoing continuous factory nonstop. Now, there's of course challenges with that. Obviously, you have to account for when things go haywire, but there are challenges even in the normal operation. And this is where I know we're going to get into the level 3 processes, but this is where it's so important, because what ends up driving the process is the rolling mill, right? And
mm,
everything emanates out of the rolling mill. And so you don't want to, every time you have to stop the process to change stands in order to change sizes, right? You have to stop the process, not
mm,
necessarily easy to do. You have to roll in stands, you have to move stands out, you have to retool the entire facility. And that can take anywhere from half an hour to 3 hours. So you can imagine what we'd like to do is, in order to, again, to achieve maximum efficiency, combine and aggregate all like orders so that we can make for all of our customers a certain size and a certain amount. And we might roll half-inch rebar, which is called number 4. We might create campaigns where we can roll that for 8 days in a row, right? Or 2 weeks, depending on what the demand is, what the supply demand metrics are in the market. We might be able to, so we create rolling schedules. And the importance of software to this process is it helps us aggregate all of our like orders so that we can create campaigns, we can keep the mill running. The one thing you can't get back in steel manufacturing is time, right? That's the
Yeah.
one thing you can't get back. There's an enormous amount of capital investment that goes into these projects. And the one thing you can't get back is time. So in order for us to be profitable and provide a good return for all the constituents, we have to maximize every minute. And so it's not even how much tons can you produce, it's how much can you make per time on the mill, right?
Hmm.
So in order to keep the maximum effectiveness, we have to maximize time, and therefore the continuous casting process is a huge part of that equation. We have to synchronize the steel coming out of the caster and going into the first of up to 14 rolling stands, and that's the physical part. But we also need the software to be able to keep us so that we can maximize that process, because the fewer times we can stop, the better we are. And so that's another reason why we are going to be so much more efficient than your existing steel mills, even that make steel in the same vein that we do by melting scrap metal.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, all of the sustainability factors that you talked us through, like, the whole green field, right? The solar panel farm, the way you guys are doing things. I mean, is this a first in the United States for sure, as far as this level of sustainability and ecology that you guys have between solar power, full green, EAF, all the way through this continuous cast process? Is Hybar really the first doing this?
A Hybar is definitely revolutionary, and I'm grinning because on my on my desktop wallpaper I have my icon is my mascot is Cy the Hybar guinea pig, right? Because we are the first
Yeah.
in so many ways, right? We have a DC furnace which offers a lot of efficiency compared to its AC counterpart. As you
Mm.
mentioned, we've got the solar field, we've got battery operations, we've got continuous casting, the first in so many ways. And as you know, being a part of the project, um, there is, even if we weren't the first, right? There is no one size fits all solution. So being the first in so
Yeah.
many ways means we have so many variables to consider and so many workflows that you're not quite sure that we have to work out. And in order to do that, everything has to be flexible. So yes, we are the first steel mill of its kind connected behind the meter to a solar field, to a solar farm, able to produce steel under the right conditions, able to run the mill with entirely renewable energy. It's very
Yeah.
exciting.
That is pretty sweet. From a technology perspective too, David, I mean, that's obviously what brought us together, right? You're utilizing
Sure.
Fuuz as, I guess, at level 3, but also in several other areas, right? We're helping you guys with different integrations to your ERP system, your TMS, the level 2. I would say that you're also probably the first, steel producing mill that has fully implemented what we call a UNS, or a unified namespace. And that's the Fuuz platform, as being sort of that industrial data hub for all of these different things connecting together. I mean, we've even, done with you guys, I think, vendor portals, we've connected to your scale house, right? There's like
I
doing
mean, it's really
ASNs. There's a ton of stuff going on here.
it really has been quite a project, and kudos to your team for being patient with us as we work through the process. Because as we spoke earlier, it's not just a matter of, hey, we've developed this process, now we got to find a
Yeah.
piece of software or pieces of software to match to it. The processes are as much in flux as the applications we're putting in to operate them, right? So a
Yeah, for
perfect
sure.
example, you've already brought it up, like, so where we are in Osceola, Arkansas, and this site in particular is a unique nexus in that have access to all three major modes of transportation, right?
Hmm.
We have I-55 about 2 miles from our job site. That's a standard mode of transportation for all manufacturing in the United States. But we are also on the Mississippi River, so we have our own port facility, and we are also adjacent to the BNSF Railroad, also
Hmm.
runs right next to our facility. So we have over the road, barge, and rail. And because we have these methods of transportation, we have to have a method of both inbounding scrap and raw materials using all three of those methods. They provide great efficiency. We're able to get great cost competitiveness by utilizing these modes of transportation over and above road, which is
Yeah.
probably the most expensive. But we're also forced to come up with different methodologies for each type of workflow, right? You have, how are we going to bring in 1,400 tons of scrap off of a barge over heavy haul scales? How are we going to bring in 100 rail cars in the unit train over rail scales? How are we going to assign piles to those raw materials? How are we going to move those raw materials
Hmm.
into our inventory? So there's so many aspects, and as we've learned through this process, you can't just put a pin in it and say, okay, that part's done, because
Right.
anytime you change one little part, you've changed the
Yeah.
entire architecture of the system. So
Yeah.
Fuuz has really been, and I guess the finale for me, or the word I would best use to describe Fuuz has been, and the most important feature is its flexibility, right? Its
Yeah.
flexibility in terms of being able to move with our process. As our process changes, how easy is it for the applications that we're using to manage those processes to also change, right?
Yeah.
How can we leverage? So Fuuz has been really invaluable, and um, coming to you in a moment of panic, which I did, as if you remember,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
coming,
We
coming
can
to you
talk
in a
about that a
moment.
little more if you want. My friends at that other company probably love to hear about that. I'm just kidding. But
No, well,
yeah, it
I
was
don't want to. I mean, there's thousands of software creators out there, and for every industrial process, for every industry, there's probably
mhm.
one or two that kind of fit the mold.
Yeah.
But for Hybar needed something flexible, and we didn't, I my methodology, and we won't talk about necessarily the companies themselves, but the methodology originally when I first started this project was, hey, we'd like to wrap as much under one hood as possible, right?
Right, right.
We'd like to
Yeah,
wrap as
like a
much
one
under
size fits all, right? Let's
kind of a one size fits all. If
uh
I have an
yeah.
MES system and a level four, which is an ERP system, um, provided by one supplier, then that's going to be one less bolt on that I have to do, right? That's going to be one less. And as you know, through integrations, there's really no one software provider that can provide everything, right? So
Yeah.
you need the flexibility. But in this situation, we made a decision after spending hundreds, if not thousands of hours of due diligence. Uh, we made a decision to go in a certain direction, and then it was as simple as, hey, well, we have to have an outage of X amount of hours per month in order. And the operators that had come on board were looking at me and like, that's not acceptable.
Right.
We can't be down for that long.
Yeah.
And so then we started digging into it a little bit better, a little bit more, and we found some processes and some functionality that were like, wow, we really we really thought we made the right decision,
Mhm.
and I had to bite the bullet. I had to bite the bullet and say, hope. Thankfully, I didn't wait too long, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't think we have. I mean, it's another thing. Another way this project is a first is that it's unprecedented to go from shovel in the ground in August 1st of 2023 to producing your first rebar 22 months later in May of 2025. I mean,
Yeah.
22-month time schedule. To say it's aggressive is an understatement,
Yeah, yeah.
and it has been. But thankfully, we've had partners like Fuuz, had partners who help us put together our ERP system, and you guys came sort of as a package. I
Hmm.
think it was your team that recommended the package of marrying Fuuz as a core system with NetSuite as our
Yep.
ERP.
Yep.
But really, we had to I came to you in a moment of panic because it was quickly that we realized that the system we had chose did not have the flexibility that we needed.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, you did the
kudos to your
smart
team.
thing. Yeah, I mean, you did the smart thing, right? You pivoted at a point that was crucial, right? Because I think we engaged with you guys, if I remember, maybe February or March of 24, right? So at that point, it was, it was pedal to the metal, right? Like we need to be producing billets like May of 25, right? So here we are. So put all of this stuff in, implement ERP, get level 3 up and running, level 2 TMS solution, all these integrations, fully unified architecture, and get through sit testing and be ready for full production. Essentially within what, 12, 13 months is
Yeah.
pretty incredible. So, kudos to your team as well. I mean, there was a lot of late nights, weekends, a lot of travel just to get all of this pulled off. And, I think everybody came together. To your point, you came back to me. I think I was on the road. You shot me a text. I'm like, oh man, what does this guy want? He walked away from me 3 months ago. I thought you just wanted to get together and have a beer or something. And then you're like, hey, we need to talk. And, we went through all of that and got all that stuff done. We introduced you to PwC, right? And, it took a lot of different people at the right time with the right level of energy and the right level of experience to make all of this happen. So
Yeah.
being greenfield, I think that's something that we've touched on here quite a bit, right? You've had a ton of experience coming into this from other brownfields, right? You mentioned U.S. Steel and Nucor, some of these other guys, right? So you've seen it, you've been there, done that, but
No, I'm going to correct you there. I'm going to correct you there. Big River Steel was also a greenfield project,
yeah,
and my experience as an IT consultant supplying services to a greenfield steel mill, even though I've been working with that team for now close to 30 years,
geez,
you don't have any experience. Seriously, you don't have any
when it comes
experience
to
until you
green, yeah,
when it comes to stepping inside of a steel mill for the first time, when you're an outside participant and stepping onto this playing field for the first
mm,
time, it's being
yeah,
fed with a fire hose, right? Because
yeah, it's much
things that
different.
I even consider natural language for me now were foreign language to me 22 months ago.
Yeah,
So yeah, so you have to it's been a
that's
person
interesting.
as a personal journey. It's been quite an amazing and eye-opening experience. Thankfully, I have a great team here at Hybar. We have found some great suppliers like those at Fuuz, like those at PwC, like those for supplying our TMS system. Like you said, putting in long hours, um, and really doing it with no set playbook. Really,
Yep.
right? It's no set playbook. There was no like, here's the model that we need to
Right.
follow.
No roadmap for what you guys had to do in such a short time frame, for sure. No,
Right.
not with all
Uh,
the new technologies. So so you're getting very close. I know you had showed me a little earlier, some of the product that you guys recently rolled off. So we're very close to full production, right?
correct.
And
Correct.
what's kind of going on now? I guess can you tell me a little bit about your experience? Like we heard about the project, and what's your experience been? In the past, let's say like 30 days, right? So there was a lot of testing, there was a lot of angst. Are we going to be ready? And just talk about some of the things that you might recommend to others out there that might find themselves in your shoes to maybe watch for, or what went well, what didn't go well. I don't know how you want to approach that.
Okay. Well, I will tell you that um, what gets lost when you're so focused on a specific project or a specific part of a project is that beyond just creating software, platforms to be able to run our system, to be able to run. And, for all of you 1980s teenagers, I call it Skynet, right?
Hmm.
I call the platform the amalgamation of that particular platform Skynet. But that was just one piece of a multifaceted IT and operational technology project, right?
Hmm.
So there are literally hundreds of systems. The CEO came in, and I'm sure this is true for any manufacturing business or any business in general, came into the IT department, and we're lean and mean like the rest of the company, right? We only have 3 people on our staff currently. Um, we're lean and mean, but the CEO came in the other day. He goes, "You guys really touch everything. You really
Yeah.
do. There isn't a single part of this process, a single part of this 1,300-acre facility that doesn't have technology involved in it in one way, shape, or form."
Hmm.
So I would say the thing that I would, this might be cliche, but the thing that I would recommend to anybody who might find themselves in my position is to listen to the managers that are in charge of the operations, right? Sure, guide them, coax out of them what they need, but
Yeah.
listen to them because they're going to tell you what they need, and put together a good team, even if it's just a few people that have the same vision, right? That can align
Yeah.
the same vision, so that you can not just divide and conquer, but that you don't have to be a sole idea provider, right? We all have good ideas, especially when we're in tech. We think we're all idea people, and
Hmm.
that we've had thousands of ideas, maybe millions that we haven't capitalized on until we see somebody else capitalize on them.
Right.
But there's really no better thing. There's no better feeling than having some fellow IT and fellow tech personnel, or even fellow operators who like tech, giving you feedback and giving you their ideas. And this way you don't find yourself in this vacuum of, oh my gosh, we have 13 months to develop a software platform. Where do we start?
Yeah.
Where do we start? Right? And you've been working through with, or your team has been working with some of the people on my staff, and
Hmm.
they come from all areas of expertise. But really, having a keen understanding, finding the right vendors, and having a good internal team is vital to me. I mean, it really is.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, David, I've seen companies, in similar situations spend 12 or 13 months to develop a proof of concept that doesn't even come close to what you guys have completely implemented in the last 12 or 13 months. So I think it's incredible, and everyone deserves, a ton of credit for what went into that. And, we're, of course, on our side, we're super excited to just see you guys, launch and go full production and start producing these, 700,000 tons a year of steel is incredible, especially the new process. And, everything that you walked us through here today is just amazing. What?
Small warning. Sorry to interrupt your question there,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
small warning to you and your team. Um, we're on version 1.0 of Skynet, right?
That's what I wanted
So,
to ask you next, actually, is okay, so this is 1.0, right? What do you foresee in the future, for Hybar, in terms of Skynet? We'll call it Skynet. That's cool.
okay.
So what is 1.1, or, I mean, should we even talk about 2.0? That makes me a little bit nervous, but, what do you see on the horizon? What's next?
Well, I mean, I think the thing that we talked about, that makes Fuuz and NetSuite and the transportation management system and all of the Skynet really come together is, again, um, I'm not I'm not even really saying it because I'm talking to the CEO of Fuuz. I'm saying it because you really need to have that flexible middleware. You need to have that. So we talk about level 3 and MES platforms, and you talk about it as if there is something that really defines a manufacturing execution system.
Hmm.
Really, I've learned that that is a way of defining a bunch of applications
Yep.
that that fill in all the gaps between the financial and business applications and the operational technology. I mean, these guys, this equipment provider, SMS, that has provided all of the steel manufacturing equipment for
Hmm.
Hybar, all of the level 1 sensors and all of the level 2 software to be able to run the actual steelmaking equipment. There's a big gap between that and financial and out of the box ERP.
Yeah.
That's where level 3 is. That's where
Yeah.
manufacturing execution. So we talked about it. We talked about uh, inbounding, vendor portals, so vendors can see. We actually have a process by which we take ownership of the scrap and bill ourselves on behalf of the vendors, right? We take all the
Hmm.
receipts, we bill ourselves. We have a whole process by which they can approve their receipts, thanks to you and the rest of the team for helping develop that process. But what do I see as 1.1 or 1.5? We've worked all those processes out over many nights and many weekends and many
Yeah.
hours upon hours, but I see them probably changing within the first 6 months of us going live,
Yeah.
changing and continue, doing a continuous improvement process on all of those workflows that we put together. Hey, this feature would be so much better, or this operator who is inspecting scrap needs to see this screen and this receipt and this weight and not this, or needs to be able to do this non-conforming report, and he's working on a tablet. So how can we make this
Hmm.
better for him, right? How can we make the shipping operations better for those guys who are scanning barcodes and putting giant bundles of steel or giant coils of rebar on trucks? How do we make it so that they are more able to do their job? So I see one dot whatever as continuous improvement
Yeah.
of what we've put together. 2.0, so 2.0 is going to come because Hybar is not a one and done facility. Hybar is going to be hopefully at least 2 to 3 or more of these micro mill rebar facilities, and then maybe a big flat roll facility somewhere down in the future, hopefully
Oh,
not too far in the future.
some
Yeah. So
foreshadowing here. Okay.
some foreshadowing.
Yeah, that's exciting.
With this, with the way the economy is, in any time, there's all kinds of flux. You never know what the steel market looks like. You never know what the future has in store. But we can certainly try and plan for a future, and that future includes more steel mills.
Hmm.
And I think as we continue to grow, the most important thing to keep in mind is that Skynet is going to have to grow with us, right? We're going to be adding functionality. I'm sure Fuuz is going to continue to mature as a product in the
Oh yeah.
space. Hopefully, with some of the expertise that you can glean from taking on more industrial type manufacturing companies, you'll be able to pass some of that back to Hybar. I know we'll
Yeah.
certainly be willing to pass our knowledge back to help you and your customers. So hopefully, we'll be able to develop processes, take advantage of future technological leverage in the industrial space itself, and really create, you know, I don't want to say the same long hours doing the same workflows, but recreating new workflows and
Yeah.
creating a
Yeah.
whole new 2.0. And hopefully we can continue to grow together. That's really my vision. I'm not looking, I didn't come to put all these pieces together for it to be a temporary solution or
Yeah.
a band-aid solution.
No one night stand here. We gotta
I
we
hope
gotta make
not.
this
I
work.
hope not.
Yeah.
We gotta make it work.
So it's funny because you having a lot of IT background, I don't typically hear folks in your position talk about level 2, level 3 the way that you do. You have a very good understanding and appreciation of both IT and OT technologies. We don't usually see a lot of that. And so I think that's important. And I think we both can agree that that whole level 3, if you take the ISA pyramid, right, is vastly understated, right? I mean, the little slice of that pyramid is the same size as the other slices, which kind of makes it seem like it's equally relevant. But the reality is that that level 3 is really what makes Hybar run, right? The beans are getting counted in the ERP, but everything that's happening at that layer is really controlling everything on the plant floor, from scheduling your campaigns and grouping and bundling everything together and managing inventory. And you guys have taken it steps that, to be quite frank, you wouldn't use another platform aside from Fuuz to do things like vendor portals and, ASNs and managing the barges and other things. Those probably be other applications realistically, but you could bolt them all together. So as a CIO, and when we started talking and I started explaining to you about the platform and its capabilities and everything, I'm sure you had some level of doubt, right? Because you've seen other things. You've worked with other software packages in the past, and I'm sure there was a level of doubt, but also, my good looks probably gave you some sense of confidence, right? That we would
The
be able to do this. And
the hairstyle. Yeah.
the hairstyle, yeah, I knew it was something. I knew we were somehow connected. But looking back, the 12 or 13 months ago that you made that pivot, I guess tell me about that. I mean, that must have been a little bit of a struggle because we are a newer technology, right? And we're doing things different. We feel like we're doing them better. At that time, what kind of risk did you feel you were taking, or did you feel like there was a risk? And then, in hindsight, are you glad you made the decision?
Um, well, in hindsight, I'm very glad we made the decision. So we'll start with the end in
Okay,
mind,
that's
right? In
good.
hindsight, we're very glad we made a decision because I feel like we've developed a platform for our business. Uh, uh, True, it's a guinea pig business in a lot of ways for us, and marrying our software, right? Because we've basically stick built the software just like we've stick built a steel mill, right?
Yep,
It's not like
yep.
it came as a kit. It's not like it came. Um, but the risks, as I've always approached them from IT as it relates to the overall big picture of manufacturing and steel production in this case, is the risk is that IT is the holdup. The
Hmm.
risk is that IT is the reason that those minutes that are so valuable or hours fly by and things aren't happening. I mean, everybody always blames the systems are down,
No, of
but the
course,
systems
yeah,
can't be down. I mean,
right.
downtime is not only inevitable but really impossible. I mean, we
Hmm.
really do everything we can, even though and Fuuz is a cloud hosted application, right? But it's married to our local applications, and so we've done everything we can to harden those connections.
Yep.
But the real risks, um, the risks were that we had gotten it wrong and that we needed to now pivot. Uh, Fortunately, I think in making the initial decision, it was tough enough between what you had already put in front of us, and if I remember correctly, you didn't even come to us originally with uh, PwC as part of a NetSuite package. I think you came with
No.
another provider at some point, but the the value proposition that Fuuz made during that initial due diligence process was close enough to your nearest competitor that we just happened to go with in that situation, that I think we felt confident that we were going to be okay no matter which way we went, and that we were going to rely on the expertise of those who developed their software to
Hmm.
really help us. Um, you know, sure, we ended up having buyer's remorse with our first decision, but I think, I know that it landed us in this place of really a flexible platform that really can be used to leverage our expertise in steelmaking, to really provide us a solid base of operations. And like you said, I mean, level three, the fact that it's a pyramid doesn't even really make sense. It really needs to
It
be a
really doesn't.
block.
Yeah.
It's not like the food pyramid where we need a little bit less of
Mm.
level four than we need of level zero or level one.
Exactly. Yeah.
We need all of it, and really, it's business critical.
Yep.
Could the steel mill run without a level three? We could. We could. I mean, that is a failure mode evaluation that I think our original equipment provider needs to evaluate or needs to plan for, is that, hey, we need to be able to operate this thing even if we only have level one and level two.
Hmm.
But in reality, we would lose all track of data, and the data is the most important thing for making not only business decisions, but business operations rely scrap on scrap buying, import, scrap receiving, finished goods processing, finished goods shipping,
Right. Yeah.
invoicing, all of the bills of materials that go into the process, everything that we've worked on. I really don't find any of it sort of frivolous or unnecessary or a nice to have. It's all need to have from my
Yeah.
perspective.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think anything you guys have done is really like bell and whistle type stuff, right? It's all like you said, it's all there. It's all purpose built for a reason, to enable, those all of those efficiencies that we talked about earlier on. It'd be very difficult to, make some of those claims without having all of the IT behind it, pulling it all together. So, no, that's great. Anything that you have, for me, anything that we can do better for you as a partner, anything that you'd like, to add before we wrap it up?
Well, no, I mean, I think as we stated, I think in any industry, uh, technology helps you become the lowest cost producer in your industry, right? And
Hmm.
achieving efficiency through technology is what gives you a competitive edge. And so all I ask from the Fuuz team is to continue to help us develop, continue to help us in any way that you can to troubleshoot those things when they come up so that you know uh, even in past projects, even in the one down the street, operators, the thing that operators that you never want to hear is I'm flying blind, right?
Hmm.
I don't have visibility into what we're doing. And so having visibility, being able to measure your performance because you have solid operational data is vital to our business. And so for that, I mean, Fuuz is a vital component to giving us that data. And please just continue to be flexible with us, both
Yeah.
in a business methodology, in a development methodology. Um, please come with ideas. Continue the customer service when we're going to need it as we head into this vital time period for Hybar. Right,
Yep.
we're about to embark on the true the true go live
Hmm.
for everything,
Yeah,
not
we've been
just
kind of
Skynet, but the true
inching
go
there.
live
Yep.
for all of it. And so, Craig, I implore you to continue to be patient with us, continue to
Oh yeah.
spend long nights with us, complaining about how we're going to do this. Um, keep keep your head up when we decide that we did everything wrong in this one area and we need to we need to redo it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think I really couldn't say I really couldn't be more pleased with what I see being very close to an end result here. And hopefully we can continue to improve it and continue to make it something that not only Hybar's operators use, but that our vendors, as you mentioned, the vendor portal. I mean, we're going to have third parties using our platforms to interact with us and engage with us on important business things, right? Not just to get on our marketing lists, right? We're
Yeah.
engaging with
Yeah.
them to do important, vital portions of the Hybar's business. So, just continue to be there for us, and we'll have to come in and go to some. I'll have to come into to Michigan and go to some Michigan games with my brother and you, and you
All
guys are
right.
out here,
Yeah.
and make sure that you spend some time out in here in rural Arkansas, or
Yeah.
we're an hour north of Memphis, so please welcome anytime,
Yep.
uh,
Yep.
and continue the good. Please keep up the good work, and the results will speak for themselves because I'm sure when things are going smoothly as we progress over the next 6 to 12 months, you're going to want to show off what you guys have produced, and we're going to want to help you show it off and
Yeah.
be patting each other on the back for jobs well done.
Absolutely. No, I really appreciate it, David. I mean, the partnership and everything has been great. We're really excited about the project and just see this, come to fruition. And definitely excited about the next steps for Hybar, the other mills you mentioned. So just a lot going on here. So you guys got a great thing going, being so unique, especially in the market, that we're in. So that's awesome. And I appreciate your time today very
Oh, it's
much.
my pleasure.
So yeah, thank you.
I look forward to being an evangelist for Fuuz. So,
Yeah. Well, hey, we need
but
those, just nobody knows who we are, everybody knows the big box guys, but so I really appreciate it, David, very much.
no, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me. I
Cool.
appreciate the time.
All right. Talk to you soon.
All right. Talk to you soon.